Do you want to finally work on your tail spend, but you are not sure how much tail spend you actually have? In this episode, I will walk you through the steps to analyze your tail spend, giving you the clarity and control you need. Stick with me till the end, because by the end of this video, you will be ready to tackle tail spend like a pro. Let's get started. All right, step number 1, data collection. Before you can analyze anything, you've got to know what you are dealing with. Start by pulling all the data from your ERP system, e-procurement platforms, purchase cards, and even non-PO spend. Yes, all of it. Think of it as a gathering all the puzzle pieces. You cannot see the whole picture until you have them all in one place. This step is key because the better your data, the better your analysis will be. Step number 2, divide spend into addressable versus non-addressable. Addressable spend is what you can actually influence, where you can negotiate, optimize, and save. Non-addressable spend, like utilities or government fees, is fixed and outside of your control. This step lets you focus your efforts on the spend that matters, so you don't waste time trying to optimize something you cannot change. Once you've got your addressable spend, it's time to dive deeper. Look at how many suppliers are contributing to your tail spend and also how many transactions made up this category. You can take 2 approaches. Approach number 1, identify the number of suppliers making up the bottom 20% of your spend. Approach number 2, analyze the number of transactions contributing to that bottom 20%. This is where you start seeing the patterns, and it will give you a clear idea whether you need to focus on consolidating suppliers or streamlining transactions. For example, you might find that 100 suppliers contribute to a very small portion of your spend, suggesting opportunities for consolidation. From the other hand, high transaction volumes with minimal spend could indicate the need for better automation or buying channel optimization. Step number 4, identify your tail spend. Most companies identify their tail spend by setting a spend threshold, a specific dollar value below which transactions are classified as a tail spend. For example, a company might consider all transactions under $50,000 as a tail spend. But here is a thing. For companies with smaller procurement teams, that unmanaged spend could be actually higher than the typical 20% of total spend. On the flip side, for the companies with larger procurement teams or additional buying channels, that threshold might be lower. So here is my recommendation. Instead of just setting a dollar threshold, try classifying tail spend as your non-strategic or tactical spend. You could categorize all suppliers who don't have a strategic contract in place. The reality is that tail spend is not just about smallest expenses. It's everything that your strategic buyers don't have the bandwidth to handle. Lack of time and limited team size often mean that important but non-strategic purchases slip through the cracks. It's important to think about the team's capacity when drawing the line between tail and strategic spend. So ask yourself, at what point can my procurement team no longer service stakeholders as effectively for non-strategic spend as they do for strategic purchases? Everything they cannot cover effectively should be categorized as a tail or tactical spend. Why? Because you won't provide consistent, high-quality support to all your stakeholders, no matter the purchase. Which approach are you using? Are you focusing more on suppliers, on transactions volume? Let me know in the comments below, and we can talk about how to fine-tune your analysis. Step number 5, apply the CREO strategy to classify your tail spend into categories. This involves 4 main actions. First, consolidate. Combine spend with fewer suppliers to leverage better pricing. Second, retain. Keep strategic suppliers but negotiate better terms. 3, eliminate. Remove suppliers or purchases that are no longer necessary. 4, one-time. Use specific strategies for unique purchases. For instance, if you find several suppliers providing the same service, consolidate to a single supplier to gain volume discounts. Retain niche suppliers who provide unique value and eliminate those that add little or no value to your operations. This step ensures that you are only dealing with suppliers and purchases that really matter, and you are not wasting resources on the ones that don't. Step number 6, set up appropriate buying channels to manage different types of your tactical spend. Consider a mix of options, such as catalog for standard repetitive purchases, marketplace for dynamic and varied purchases, non-catalog preferred suppliers for ad hoc but proof suppliers, non-catalog, non-preferred suppliers for occasional and non-standard purchases, contract-based PO release, reoccurring purchases tied to specific contracts, on-time POs, spot buy requests for urgent or unplanned purchases, and invoice-only V-card, P-card for low-value, high-frequency transactions. And my top, master vendor, the best way to optimize all your tactical spend regardless the value of transaction. Try it. It works. So there you have it. Building a bulletproof tail spend analysis doesn't have to be complicated. In my upcoming videos, I'm going to guide you even further on managing tail spend. So hit that subscribe button and get ready for the next steps.